Gold has a lot of convoluted messages lately. I know you hear a lot of people saying it's going to stay flat for a long time and all this type of stuff. And I know people hear about QE. I'm thinking QE's not coming until at least a year down the road. I'm going to state right off the bat that Merrill Lynch is also now stating that gold will be about $2,000 before the end of 2012, and that's due to easing. Now, that's what I suspect, too, because the commodity prices are low enough, and it's not going to affect like people's disposable income that much. I know the food prices are going to go up a lot, but that has nothing to do with easing. That has to do with a major drought that's been the worst drought we had since 1988, actually worse than that, maybe going back, getting on competition on par with the Dust Bowl since it's in the 1930s, since it's going to continue on. So, you know, that's another indication that, to me, that they're going to have to do some kind of quantitative easing because the economy is actually suffering a number of signs from a number of areas. This, by the way, is a picture of Kate Moss in solid gold, very huge statue. It's worth like over $2 million. That's on the public display in a UK museum. There's a sculptor that actually made a statue of Kate Moss doing some type of yoga or something like that, and this is on public display in the UK. Kind of like how things are going with gold today, because there's a lot of convoluted crisscross messages coming out. There's people saying it's going down, there's people saying it's going up. Now Jim Sinclair, he's talking like well over $3,000 gold, but he doesn't give a date. Now, I could see $3,000 gold, you know, a couple of years from now, no problem. And that's not because the prediction's 2 years away, and I could maybe forget about it that I said that, you know, in 2 years. But it's because the only option they have is quantitative easing across the board. They just can't keep doing austerity. We know the manufacturing index is down across all the globe, and actually those numbers are going to start coming out more and more because, you know, if I pull up the charts, we look at the commodity, the CRB, the Commodity Research Bureau's index of all commodities across the board. We notice they're down. Now, they've been starting to go up a little bit, but they're still really low from what they were even just a month or so ago, and they weren't that high then either. So the highs were basically back around, for most of them, around the first quarter of April of 2011. That's where a lot of things were peaking out, or maybe in the first quarter of 2011, maybe in February. So they've been off those highs, and now they're really off those highs. So quantitative, that's telling you what's going on. The real economy, quantitative easing is coming up. And I think they need to do it before the election, or else that really hurts Obama's chances for election. So not that they really care about that, but that's an under indication the Obama administration is not going to be against doing that, considering in light of what's going on. Now, I want to make a little discussion and discourse on oil prices and Russia's policy. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there very scared of what's going to happen with Russia because, you know, Russia might interfere with any policies or to try, well, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but you say, you know, Russia's against the Western policies in Syria. Russia's against the Western policies against Iran. But, you know, I think it's a lot of rhetoric, and this is the way I'm going to say why. Well, for instance, say, the war breaks out between the West and Iran over this oil and Straits of Hormuz and nukes or whatever reason, right? Russia is going to condemn the West, and they're going to play that card to the max. And they're going to, you know, put this all over Russia Today, RT, and all their major media state-run news venues. And they're going to criticize the hell out of the West to great effect because it's going to look like Western aggression. But Russia is going to profit by this immensely because any kind of conflict in the Middle East is going to drive oil way up, and big Russian cash cow that gets one of their big number one export products going, it's basically oil. They're the number one or number two. They're right around neck and neck with Saudi. Sometimes Saudi's ahead, sometimes Russia's ahead. But that's their big product, oil. So if oil goes up twice in price, guess what? Russia's going to be smiling all the way to the bank. So in reality, closing the Straits of Hormuz isn't going to affect them or nothing. It's going to hurt the West. It's just going to make them rich, and it's going to give them a great propaganda tool. So I want people to keep that in mind when this comes down, because I think it is coming down pretty soon, even though they've been talking about it a long time. It could have happened already, too. Because nobody knows, you know, all you need is a little spark on that Tinder thing over there in Iran, and then it'll start, you know. The West is looking for an excuse to start the war, and Iran is playing very cautious. But I also got to say that if Iran had nuclear weapon capability of the West, they would have already used it against the West, despite, you know, everybody thinking they're a bunch of peaceniks. I don't think so, but anyway. So just beware when Russia's talking all this stuff. They would love a conflict between the West and Iran. Great propaganda for them. Great amount of money into their pockets from their oil that gets produced. Now, to just review again on gold, Jim Sinclair is predicting like 3,500 to 3,200 gold. Doesn't give a date. I got some respect for that guy, but you know, it's like a bunch of garbage. I mean, they're always perma bulls all the time. I'm sure you're going to see the typical. I guess I'll mention them, like all the people that pump and dump gold, like, you know, Sprott, James Tark, SGT Bull, Brother John F, or whatever. All these people are all going to be making all the predictions once things start going safely up, and they're going to make too high of a prediction. That's pretty much the deal. Now, when silver takes off, what I'm going to watch for is the silver-gold ratio and sell some of it. I've been saying that I think gold's going to go to about 2,100. Silver might hit around close to 30 to 1. I'm going to sell some. So 30 to 1, 2,100 gold, 30 to 1 ratio with the silver. That puts silver at 70. It might even go better than 30 to 1, but maybe that's like for 2 days, you know. So I'm probably going to sell some, big adjective, some, at 60, some at 70. If I blow that and it goes to 90, I'm going to sell some to 80. I'm not going to sell a lot of it, even a major portion of it, but it's money, and it's, you're making double on your, well, triple, quadruple on your investment or whatever the hell it is. Because I bought it a hell of a long time ago. It was like in the teens or 13 or whatever the hell it was, or 15, you know. So, you know, if it goes from 15 to 60, what's wrong with that, right? So just a little bit of it, because I think in a few years it's probably going to be over a couple hundred, no problem. And I don't know exactly what the moves are, but if you start seeing an explosive move in silver because gold went way to hell up, and oil went way to hell up, see, like this war with Iran is actually going to cause not just oil to go up, but tensions in the Middle East. If you look back, all the times oil spiked, you know, what happened with gold? Gold went up, and a lot of times when oil gets in this big bull run, silver starts taking off too. So, and you never know how long this problem in the Middle East can happen. You know, you're going to see all the experts out there, and this is why I hate them. It's like the experts are either they have the most initials after their name, or they're into God, and that helps them. It's like helps them get some points with believability, and you know, with pastors and all this type of stuff. Or I don't know, they just talk a certain way that people like to hear. And but a lot of times they're not fearful of making very high predictions after they see the curve go up for a long period of time. And I don't know if they're that stupid, and you know, my guess is they're not. They could be playing you people when they're telling you, you know, gold hits 2,100 or something, then it's going to go to 3,000, no problem, and maybe it'll pull back. So, but you know, it's not stupid to sell some physical, because you could trade your fiat money for other assets that might be smart buys at that time, right? And you always need fiat money, because in the land of the United States, the U.S. dollar is what you freaking buy everything with. Now, some of these people, they probably make a hell of a lot of fiat money off of their pump and dump things they put out on blogs and through newsletters and all this other garbage. And that's one reason they hold on to their gold for major reasons too. Because some of these people are probably that are giving extremely bad advice, in my opinion, are probably making a hell of a lot of money giving extremely bad advice, and that's like really where I have a problem with that. Now today, if I saw a person that had a lot of money into bonds, I would not be afraid to tell them to go very heavy into gold and silver right now because the prices are pretty depressed. They might be extremely pissed off at me if it goes down, and for like the short term, because I don't know if it's going to go down below 26. I don't know if gold's going to go to 1,500 or whatever. But it wouldn't be a very long wait before they'd have some massive gains. And the writing's on the wall because the middle class is going to start waking up. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to make, I think the smartest route is to sell little bits of your stash. And when it starts getting up higher, that's what I'm going to be a lot more nervous about. If I start seeing silver going up to $150 an ounce a couple years from now, $200 an ounce, yeah, I'm going to be getting very nervous then, and I don't know how much of it I'm going to sell. And that depends on what I would do with the next step. And that is not to hold fiat cash forever. That means to sell, and trade it for something else as a real hard asset that I think is well depressed. Because even if I did not sell at the right point, silver, say it was going up to $500 an ounce, and I sold some at $150, I sold some at $250 or whatever, and I didn't sell a lot of it at $500 an ounce or $800 an ounce or whatever it goes to. As long as I made the right next move into a depressed asset that goes up, the equation's going to come out the same way. So, again, there's a lot of conflicting messages out there about gold and silver. Some are saying it's going up, some are saying it's going down. The obvious answer is it's going way to hell up. They got no options. No options. And this thing with the Middle East, too, as bad as it might sound, just keep in mind Russia's going to love playing this card because they're going to be using it as a great deal of anti-Western propaganda. People are going to get scared. They're going to be blaming all the banksters trying to kill the globe, and the Russia's our only answer. And to tell you the truth, I don't think they give a damn. It's just that it's a great card hand they could play. And you're going to see them making a hell of a lot more money on oil, which is where they get a hell of a lot of their money from. So I know they don't give a damn about conflict with the Middle East. So just keep all that garbage in mind. And in the short term, gold and silver can go down, but where I think things are going to start changing is when we start getting near the next fiscal year on the government budget, and there's a lot more talk before that coming out as to how they're going to pay for things. Isn't that going to force QE, or maybe even force them to downgrade the debt, or maybe issue some statements that hint they might downgrade the debt? You think that's going to be bullish for gold? Yeah, definitely. So use a little common sense, and don't make statues of Kate Moss that are $2 million doing yoga. I don't know. This is on public display in the UK. This would be a nice scam if you covered it up with stucco and you said it was a cement statue and you got $2 million worth of gold there and nobody knows you had it. I mean, that's an idea, but I don't know. I don't have a life-size figure amount of gold laying around to make a statue out of, but pretty eccentric artist to make a statue out of Kate Moss, but that's what he did.